Good morning, everyone. It's Monday, November 30th, last day of November, and we are going into the last month of the year. Congratulations. We made it. We made it almost through this entire year of 2020. Um, yeah, wow, right? So things probably look a little bit different than how I normally record the videos, but I had this image flashed through my mind over the weekend that I wanted to change around my space a little bit here out in my cottage that I call Joyful Paws Cottage. And that's Pause, Joyful Paws Cottage. So I just had this flash over the weekend, and I moved my table where I do mixed media collage. I moved that in front of the window so I can see the birds when they're at the feeder. And then this is a way I had never I've moved this space around in here so often, moved the tables and the chairs and the furniture around so often in here, but this is a way I've never done it before. So it was kind of exciting. And I loved how this turned out that I had this cozy little nook right here. So this is my meditation chair, or sometimes I just sit and read. But I thought it'd be really fun to do the reading from this cozy little nook today. So I hope you are well. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I know we had, some of us have done Thanksgiving different this year. There's so many different thought processes for people with Thanksgiving that are going on, as well as how you perhaps celebrated this year differently than in the past. But I hope all good things came from that. And today is the full moon plus a lunar eclipse. So some pretty intense energies. And I love to follow astrology, and I started following a gentleman named Michael Lennox. So I thought I would start out with his sharing that really resonated for me today when I read it. And I'm going to incorporate that into the reading with the animal cards that I'm going to do for you today. And also, at the end, I'm going to pull a card. Well, I already did that before I got on the video, but from the Moonology Oracle cards by Yasmin Boland. And I just had to smile when I pulled the card because it was right on the message on the card, which I'll share with you in a little bit. So let me just grab this. So this is from Michael Lennox talking about the full moon and the eclipse and the energies right now of this. So full moon is very much about change and transformation and a tremendous opportunity to let go of an overly intellectual orientation to the world and how you perceive it. What you think about your world may seem like everything to you, but chances are your thoughts about your life are what is causing the greatest suffering. Now just think about that for a moment. Your thoughts about your life are what is causing the greatest suffering. This was a huge teaching for me a couple years ago, and a difficult time I was going through personally and with my little dog, Gidget, which I share in my memoir, I'm Fine Just the Way I Am. But when I read this, it brings me back to that, and it makes me think about those times I do suffer is usually because I'm getting caught up in my own mind. So I just really appreciated him talking about that today in his update. So he said the energy of this moment is powerful and intense. This full moon engages us at the level of thoughts, words, and ideas. But also remember that this very milieu where we get tripped up with in the first place, which are racing thoughts, too many thoughts, changing thoughts, thoughts that seem inspired but lead nowhere. So he says, when looking to what you are ready to let go of in this Gemini full moon, be sure to consider relying too heavily on what is going on in your mind. In other words, don't believe everything that you think. Our minds are incredibly powerful, aren't they? And they can create this world or this reality that is not a fun reality to go through. So if we can remember that, how powerful our thoughts are, in reality, we can shift those thoughts. And the reading I'm going to share with you, it's really about staying centered in our hearts instead of letting our mind control our thoughts. Because when we can remember to be with our heart, excuse me, with our hearts, that's where the true answers lie. That has definitely been my experience in my life. And I'm sure you've had that experience in your life quite often too. So, with that in mind, with what I just read, I'm going to expand on that with the 3 animal cards I pulled, which are from the Spirit Animal Awareness deck, which I just learned about, a month or so ago. They're by Ona Christie Martin. And I learned about them because Ona is going to be a speaker, as well as myself, for an upcoming summit that I'm really excited about, which is happening at the end of January, hosted by Dr. Kara Gubbins. And it's called the Animal Oracle Card Summit, I think. I might have those words flipped a little bit, but Animal Oracle Card Summit. And I just recorded my interview 2 weeks ago with Kara, and it was so fun. I'm so excited to share it with all of you. So stay tuned for that. I'll announce that in my newsletter. So if you're on my newsletter list, you'll be getting that sometime in early January to sign up for that summit. So the reading for today, we're going to start out with the first card, the first animal card, which is going to be our anchor for today and then going through the week. And the card is Frog. I love this illustration on here. I love the colors. I love the water and the ripples. So the first thing I heard that I wrote down was the only way to transform is to allow ourselves to move through our feelings. And you think about 2020, think about all the feelings you've had this year. We've really been inundated with many of them, haven't we? And we've been inundated with looking at ways of shifting our perceptions and our projections, right? And then I wrote, we have to be willing to soak in all those feelings and let them wash through us, even though we've been taught to do the opposite. And when I wrote that line down, I was hearing in my head about our ancestors. And I was hearing about how for so many years, hundreds and hundreds of years, our ancestors have been taught or were taught to just push their feelings down. And I think about, so many of our ancestors having, experienced trauma in their lives too, of if they owned those feelings, how sometimes they were thought of as crazy and they needed to go into a mental institution. So they didn't speak about their feelings. They just pushed them down and they didn't acknowledge them and they didn't let them come to the surface. And I think in many ways they suffered. They suffered for that. And so when I saw a frog come up and I thought about transformation and I thought about our ancestors and I thought about everything that we've gone through this year, we are making a conscious shift to coming back into more in alignment with our hearts and trusting that it's okay to feel everything that we're feeling and to find a way to express that and to get that up and out in order that we can open our hearts more and have more compassion, not only for ourselves, but for everyone around us and for our world as well. Let's see. I'm just checking my notes here. Yeah, the other thing I heard as I was looking at Frog and the message with transformation is, and I've been hearing other teachers that I listen to as well talk about this, and it is something I believe in my heart, though sometimes I struggle with it as well, is each of us that are here right now on this planet, our souls, made the agreement to be here at this time. And sometimes that can feel really difficult. That can feel really heavy. It can feel really big. But I just want to invite you to look at it as we are these pioneers. We are pioneers paving the way back to living in a more heart-centered way instead of letting our minds lead the way. And isn't that a great thing? We are the pioneers. We are the pioneers. And especially, I think, too, I think many of us, and many of you that maybe listen to my channel, you know, I'm an empath, and I have a feeling you are too. And, you know, how many times in our life did we think we were crazy being these empaths because we're so sensitive, we feel everything. But this is the way. We are the ones. We are the ones. I'm thinking we are the ones we've been waiting for, right? We're going to help lead everybody else back to living from our heart centers, because this is what we've been doing as empaths. This is how we've lived our lives, even though we did try to stuff it down, right? I know that's the last 20 years. That's what my inner work has been all about, is coming back to being my true self, and that I am a very feely, sensitive person, and that is a gift. And I have no doubt you have the same gift as well. So that's the message for Frog. And then lastly, I wrote to take the leap, and that this is about shifting back to a more heart-centered way, just what I said. So the next card, I want you to look at it as our action step for the week and moving forward as we continue to transform. And the card is Badger. Now, when I turned this card over and saw that it was Badger as our next action step forward, it's still in my conditioned mind of what I've heard for so many years of Badger being looked at as the meanest animal on earth. And when I first turned the card over and I heard that thought run through my mind again, I actually had this complete moment of empathy for Badger. And I thought, you know, that's just not fair that they get that, you know, that they've gotten that title. Why did they get that title? What is the lesson in this for us? And it just makes me think about, as we learn to transform, that is sometimes painful. And I think about people who have walked through life that have, you know, suffered through trauma, whether it's big trauma or little trauma. I've heard it as the big T or the little t. To me, trauma is all trauma. Pain is all pain. And the only way to move through whatever pain we're experiencing is to feel it and allow it to move through us. So when I think about Badger in relation to that, you know, we don't know. You know, say we're out and about in the world and somebody cuts us off in traffic, or somebody cuts in line at us at the grocery store, or you feel like somebody's burning you a look, or whatever it may be. We don't know what perhaps that person is dealing with. And that's what it made me think about when I looked at Badger and being labeled the meanest animal on earth, and then taking that into relation to people we meet in our lives who sometimes, you know, come across as sarcastic, or what we project or perceive as sarcastic, or perhaps they don't talk very much and they're very quiet, or maybe they say mean things. They are more likely than not coming from that wounded, fearful place within themselves. So I think Badger is just asking us to remember that, and to just pause and maybe send that person a blessing and have compassion for that. And that helps us transform, and without, and they're going to feel that even though you may not know that. And what else did I write? I also thought about Badger as we're continue to do this transformational work. You know, the fact that the Badger lives deep, you know, burrows itself deep down into the earth. That's really about staying grounded as we continue to move from being in our minds down into our hearts. It can sometimes feel it can make you feel lightheaded sometimes. I know it does for me. Or maybe feel sick to your stomach. maybe feel a little nauseated. So it's really important to remember to stay grounded as we move into this new way of being, as we finish out 2020 and move into 2021. I want to share with you a little exercise that it's a small exercise, but when I learned it a few years ago, it was so powerful for me, and really it helps me when I feel kind of in that space of, where I feel like, what do I want to say? Like things just feel uneasy. And this is an exercise that I learned, and I wish I could remember who taught it to me. If I do, I will put a link to it in the description below. It's a very simple exercise, but when you feel things are kind of out of control, or you're in this place of fear, that's what I was trying to say, this place of fear, or you're feeling scared, this can really help ground you and bring you back into your heart. So just place one hand on your heart and one hand kind of on your tummy right here by your solar plexus chakra. Just take a deep breath in and exhale. And just repeat as often as you need to. I am safe and I am loved. I am safe and I am loved. I am safe and I am loved. Hopefully you are already, if you did that along with me, you can feel more centered and grounded just from doing that simple little exercise. I've done that a lot this year. It's really helped me. So I hope it helps you too. If you try it, let me know. Let me know how you feel from that. So that's, our next right action step as we continue to be with everything that we're feeling, and, the culmination of it through the year, anticipating 2021. It's really important to stay grounded. Whatever burrowing looks like to you, maybe it's snuggling up on the sofa or soaking in the tub or doing that exercise I just did. It's really about having respect for ourselves and allowing ourselves to give ourselves good, gentle care as well. So the final card is, we can look at this card as we continue to do this transformational work. We continue to do the grounding work. What does the potential outcome look like for us as we do this today, through the week, through the rest of the year, and to take us into 2021? And it's sea lion. And I know I've pulled sea lion before in the readings as well. It's just such a sweet image of sweet lion. And I just feel this calm coming over me when I look at this card. And I'm sure it has to do with the colors in the water and the seal looking out over the horizon. I love the words on here, grace under pressure. And it can feel that way when we're transforming. But the more that we can be open to transforming, the more we can remember to stay grounded, the more we can move through those times with grace, right? And I love the word grace. And I love that it's paired with the sea lion. And then another thing I heard looking at this card was to take time, to be with our dreaming self. What reality do we really want to create in our own lives? And what reality do we want to see in our world? And it brings me back to the fact of what I believe, that it begins at home. It begins with doing our own inner work. And then living in that way. And by doing so, we automatically give that permission to others to do the same. So, and the more we do that, the more grace comes into our lives and the more grace we have to give to others, right? So the last card I pulled, I said, is from the Moonology deck by Yasmin Boland. Did I say that at the beginning? I can't remember now. This video is getting a little longer than usual, but yeah, I decided to pull a card since it is the full moon from this deck. That's right, I'm going to read from here too. So when I pulled the card, I thought, wow, universe. And see, this is how energy works. because I pulled this card at random and it's the full moon eclipse card. Come on, right? Pretty cool. And the message on here says conclusions are within reach. I'm going to read the message from the book. So, fully moon eclipse, and just like that, a door slams shut. If you've pulled this card, it suggests that the situation you're asking is about to reach a peak or has just done so, and things are now out of your hands. And when you think about 2020, so much was out of our control that the only thing we could really do is to work on our own feelings and accept those and be with those. So what you're experiencing now is what your soul signed up for, just what I said before, that we agreed to be here at this time on the planet. It's a way for you to learn and for your soul to evolve. Wow, right? Big evolving this year, huge evolving. So allow events to unfold and be easy on yourself. If you're letting go of someone or something, know that it's the right time, as hard as it might be. And I know that's happening a lot too. So much of what's going on in the world has, we've realized we may not feel and think like our friends or our family, and that has caused some conflict. And maybe there's certain family members and certain friendships you've had to let go of or just be with in a new way that hasn't been easy. But know that it's okay. Know that it's okay. And then it also says forgiving someone for what they did could be key to resolving this situation in a positive way. It doesn't make right what they did, but it releases it so you can move on. And I think that's really important too. When we think about forgiveness, we aren't forgiving somebody's behavior, but it's also about remembering where in them are they speaking or acting from, which is their own wounding and their own fear, and then not taking that on and releasing it so that you can move on, and not carry that burden with you, right? So that is the reading for the week. I hope you enjoyed that. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say today. Let me know if the reading resonated, or if you have additional insight from any of the 3 animal cards I pulled. Maybe there's something that you heard as I was sharing the cards that would be helpful to others as well. So just leave it in the comments below, and we can have a little chat down there as well. That would be great. All right. Have a great week, everyone, and I'll see you again next week. Take good care. Bye-bye.